Well, hello there, General Kenobis, and welcome to the 11th episode of DoubleDM podcast. This is where the fun begins. So, Niels, tell me, how are you doing today?
After that introduction, very well, actually. Yeah, nice. And how do you do? Everything fine?
Yeah, I am very happy with my own joke right now.
You shouldn't.
Oh, the people out. Oh, yes, you did. For the people that don't know, when we write our introductions for this, the other one doesn't know what the other one actually plans. So I just completely surprised Niels with that.
You always do, man. You always do.
I always have these chaotic ideas, and I need to use them when I get them.
Yeah. If you don't use them, they will slap your players in the face, so I'm happy to take it. And it's fun.
Oh, they will slap my players regardless. My players will always get them.
Sure.
There's no way my players won't get hit by something like that. Okay.
So, how was your week? What did you do?
I didn't do much. I should say. Like, I did do a lot of stuff, but nothing really that significant. Some significant stuff. University starts next Monday, so tomorrow for the people listening to this.
Oh boy, it does. Oh boy.
At least for me it does. Which
I think for me as well, but...
Which means more or less that I had to choose all my courses for this. I still have to get the email back for my internship, which I hope I can bring my actual work into this. I don't know yet. I asked the prof who should be the one I need to ask for this, and have not heard back yet. So I will just wait.
Yeah, you can keep me up to speed with that. I'm interested in that. Well, and one thing we did together actually was binge watch a lot of Attack on Titan recently.
Mm-hmm.
We started with season 3 part 2, and now we only have 5 episodes left, and I think it was not even a week.
I think we started watching the 3rd season on a Thursday, like the second part of the 3rd season, and on a Thursday.
And then we put in season 2 actually again with John. Yeah.
Yes.
It was a lot of binge watching.
Yes, it was a lot of watching, but it was fun.
Bet your ass it was.
Do you have any interesting sessions coming up in the next few weeks?
Yeah, this coming Sunday when this episode releases. I have the first session with my big 7-player group. We are playing the module Icewind Dale, Rime of the Frost Maiden. They don't know yet. They just know it's gonna be cold and it's gonna be dark and it's gonna play in Faerun, but nothing more.
I mean, if you get those 3 things, you actually should connect the dots to Icewind Dale, but...
Yeah, but if you're playing this as your first campaign after playing just one shot, one shot. But yeah, and I'm currently all in the preparation and planning phase, getting everything on Roll20 and stuff like that. Okay. I may get back to you for that because I haven't used Roll20 that much yet. So
you did use Tabletop Simulator, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, we started using Roll20 because it was free from the beginning. I'm actually still considering getting a premium membership for myself so I can better DM the games I'm playing. Though I always feel like I don't need it. And then again, I feel like I need it. Torn between those two sides of, these features are really cool and I want them. Plus, it costs money. They want to pay for it.
I feel that. I feel that. I want actually every book on D&D Beyond, so I can use the character creator to its full potential and stuff like that. But
I have every
the
book
books
on
again.
D&D Beyond.
Oh man!
I own every book on D&D Beyond. If you want me to set up the campaign for your player characters, I can do that.
Okay, sure.
I can do 3 campaigns, and I have 2 for my home games, and a third one that you basically could use if you want.
Sure.
I can set that up for you after this, so you can send that link to your players, and they should be able to use all my books.
I'll get back to you on that.
They will just have to accept the fact that there's a player character in there, because I needed to separate that character from different characters in one of the campaigns, because I didn't want the other players to know that one of my players is actually switching character again. And yes, it's the player from our 4th episode that said he always starts with an elf, switches to a dwarf, and now apparently always switches back to that character.
Interesting.
Yes, Sönke, which is a name nobody outside of Germany can pronounce, said
maybe
he wanted
Swedish and Norwegian guys can.
Yeah, maybe. He wanted to switch back to his original character for that campaign, Roslyn, which is a fire genasi dragon, red dragon bloodline sorcerer. Red draconic bloodline sorcerer. Lot of fire damage, lot of damage spells, which... Well, the other character he played was Fendrak.
Yeah, I played with that character, I think.
Yes, you did when you guessed it in the campaign early on. Yes, the designated healer and mother and father of the group, the cleric. But he didn't really like how he needs to play with this kind of group. Like, I don't know, Sönke is probably listening to this at some point. I really liked Fendrak. I really liked the character. The idea was cool with having to take revenge on one of the dragons that actually is in the module. Like, I want to take revenge on a white dragon. The campaign is all about killing chromatic dragons or stopping chromatic dragons and the cult around them. So this is perfect already.
There's awesome story plot hooks in there.
With how the others in the group are playing, he more or less has to be the full-on, I stand on the front line and do nothing except casting healing spells.
Yeah, that can be tiring.
I don't know if it is actually... It is my problem as the DM, because I'm not giving him enough so he can actually do something different. But I think because how the group is playing, because with having 2 characters that more or less only want to fight their way through stuff, or at least... Well, like a lot of people say if you want, it is only fun combat is most fun if you don't do it, because talking your way out of combat is more interesting than fighting it. I agree to some extent. In my opinion, if you have a fighter and your fighter is this cocky type, I am the best, arrogant, self-confident in his skills, then role-playing that character is fighting, is wanting to take that fight. So I don't agree that talking your way out of combat is always more satisfying than fighting combat, or always better, because certain character types, like that cocky fighter, do want to fight, and really...
I think a healthy mix of those two is...
Yeah, obviously. But I want to say, I see a lot of more people talking about it's cooler to avoid combat than actually taking combat. Because taking combat would be the, let's say, normal route, and avoiding it would be the cooler, way more fun and harder way around an encounter.
Because it's something different.
Yeah, obviously.
I think.
Like, I don't want to say those people...
Everybody did this, then maybe something... Forcing your way through brute force would be the cooler way because it's not done that much.
Yeah, I want to say that the people that actually want to talk their way out of combat or think that it's cooler, because I actually agree that if you have an encounter that you actually can win without fighting and just talking to the enemy, that's very interesting and cool.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, if you have only avoidable combats, there is something missing for me. I want combats that feel for the players unavoidable to the extent of, okay, we have to fight this enemy because we don't want to talk to him or we can't talk to him. Like if they have a cult, like one of these cult fanatics, they don't really care if the players try to persuade them into not taking the side of the cult anymore, because they don't care. They are devoted followers of Tiamat. They
extreme cultists, extremists, they can't be reasoned with. That's exactly the point of the cult thing. That works so well in fights or in campaigns. If you want to force a fight as a DM, you can always use some sort of extremist guy, dude, thing, creature-ish type. Yeah,
and the thing is, that fight becomes way more satisfying if you talk beforehand to that NPC, getting to know their extremist side, really feeling like, okay, this person can't be reasoned with. We need to kill them now, or they will hurt other people. And obviously, that is something my group still does, but they actually still want to fight to some extent, and it's okay for me. It's totally okay for me. There were combats they avoided by talking, but those that they feel like couldn't be avoided, they fought without a second thought. Okay,
and that's how it should be.
Yeah,
but I think we should get into the topic soon. Yeah. I think you have one thing.
I have a big announcement. Soon? I have a big announcement. Everyone, listen to me. Come a little bit closer. Come closer. Yeah, that's a little bit further back again. We want to social distance here. This is still by the pandemic. So,
for the people just listening, we have our webcams on, and I just moved closer and further back just so it.
I also expect everyone that listens to this to move a little bit closer to their listening device, and if not, I hate you. No, I actually don't. But I have an announcement, which is that the infamous Beige Gang, if you don't know what that is, you need to find out. Because the Beige Gang is coming. On the 17th of April will be the Beige Gang's debut. However you say that word in English.
Yeah.
Which
next Saturday.
Saturday, right? If you don't know what the Beige Gang is, you need to stick around to find out. I will give the information that this is probably one of the most chaotic one-shots you will ever witness in your life, even though the premise of it is being not chaotic. So this is gonna be fun.
I see that.
I will be part of this as one of the 5 players participating in the official first Beige Gang one-shot. We have an amazing DM. I have amazing 4 other players playing with me. And I'm a little bit excited and anxious about this, because this will not only be my first time on a stream, this will be like my second or third time playing D&D as a player. This will be my first time ever playing a TTRPG not in my native language in German.
Yeah.
And this will be the first time when I get to actually play with these new friends I made, because I'm very anxious that they're gonna hate me after.
I don't think they will.
Yeah, I don't think you can convince my imposter syndrome that it's not.
Yeah, I have the same issue, but I don't think they will.
Yeah, I know they won't.
We can't do anything about that, but
it's fun.
Yeah.
It will all be in good fun, and the Beige Gang will be there to stick around. There will be more of us. I actually don't know how much I can tell you, but I think we should have by now, when this episode releases, have started the promos for it. So on the Twitter account of either myself or the DoubleDM account, you will probably find promos for that, or on one of the other participating channels, which are the Role Players Guild in Roll, like rolling a dice. Marker the DM from Check These Out, Eric from Maps and Quests, Hamilton from Dragon's Duel, and our amazing DM, DM Chronicles from DM Chronicles. Brevin from DM Chronicles will be hosting that one shot on Saturday at 9 p.m. CET, 3 p.m. EST. Yeah, and I hope to see a lot of people there for some chaotic beige gang fun.
If I'm able to make it, I will be there.
I will definitely send on Twitter all the information again for those people that want it. Like, I will make a big fuss about it when we actually have all the information. It's gonna be fun, I can tell you that. It's gonna be real fun for us, at least. So, now we should get into our topic today.
Yeah. So, what is our topic today?
Our topic
today... enlighten me.
The topic today is how do you actually start a campaign? Because we have talked a lot about how, like, we have this campaign, we need to prep this and all that, and if you run a campaign and all these sentences, they were missing that one crucial part of a campaign. How do you actually start it? Because I know a lot of people have run one-shots before, and probably also a lot of listeners have run campaigns before, but campaigns are something different than one-shots, if you haven't already guessed that. Campaigns are not just several one-shots put together, but really an interconnected story that you tell over several, if not like 10, 100 sessions that goes on and has like this thread going through them all in some way or another. And
it may even not be visible sometimes.
Yes.
Like we talked about this on our episode about story arcs a bit.
Yeah.
Where the different story arcs may feel like they are not connected, but in the end, there's this one moment where it just all links back together.
Yeah, exactly. So, I want to ask you the first question, because you said you had this Rime of the Frost Maiden campaign coming up.
Yes.
How do you come up with campaign ideas?
Through different methods. Sometimes through listening and reading folklore, like we talked about on the last episode. Or just finding a new module which I haven't run yet or haven't heard much about, so I want to try it out, just through different announcements on Twitter, Facebook, or whatever. And yeah, sometimes even just watching movies, shows, talking about stuff in the fantasy realm of D&D or every other TTRPG, just sometimes clicks in my head with an idea for a campaign, and then I just start writing, and then I discard it for quite a few months, and then I have another idea. I start writing again. Like, I think every DM can relate to that, and to some extent.
I can.
Like, you have ideas, like a buttload of ideas, a metric shit ton. But until all these ideas are finally ready to be played as a campaign or a one-shot, it takes a long-ass time.
Yeah, like I have 15 and around 10 to 15 campaign ideas on the back burner that are just simple, like half-page synopsis of what I want to do in that campaign.
Or even just one or two sentences, just like the first few thoughts about it, about one strain of thought you had. Just write it down so you don't forget it, and then forget you have written it down, finding it 2 months later and just start detailing it.
So again, ideas like we talked in the inspiration episode, or at least one of the inspiration episodes. Find them where you feel comfortable finding them, in my opinion. Your favorite TV show can probably make a good premise for a campaign. Your favorite video game can be a good premise for at least your first campaign. Obviously, you DMs will, if you are more versed in the TTRPG you want to play itself, you will probably get more creative, because it can be quite challenging to get into a new TTRPG, get a full story together, and a lot of stuff comes together in a campaign. And your first campaign doesn't have to be unique, extraordinary, or anything. It should be something
it will be anyways.
Obviously.
Just because you are, as the DM and the players, craft the story differently.
Yeah,
so it will be memorable either way.
Yeah,
just don't overforce yourself to try to make something extra special or extra unique. Mm-hmm. Do something you are comfortable with, and take the inspiration where you feel comfortable taking it from.
Yeah, exactly.
So don't force yourself to read or watch stuff you normally wouldn't, just to get ideas. So just do the things you do normally, and if you find one thought that maybe could be worked into a campaign, just write it down, and then the next time you think about it, you may add to that, and so it just keeps on going until it's ready to be played somewhat.
Yeah, just stay calm and do it one step at a time anyway. Take a general premise you want to run because you feel like it's very cool, and then do it. Don't think about it too much at the beginning. All this extra thinking will come at some point, and if you force it, it won't be as good as if it comes just natural. Like, you can force yourself to take leaps of faith. Obviously, you can say, okay, I want to now run the best murder mystery I can run, and you can put a lot of prep into that, but that is, in my opinion, a different way than forcing a whole thing that you actually can't do onto yourself. Just
the seed for the campaign has to come naturally. Everything else can be a bit forced because you have a session coming up and you don't have anything yet, so you may need to force yourself to write something. But the seed where it all starts from, this needs to come natural.
Mm-hmm. Take if you want to run a campaign like in your favorite TV show's universe, you are very well versed in that universe. You know the ins and outs of that universe, and that information will help you a fucking ton if in making the campaign as best as possible, because you know what's going on. You have the idea. And yes, there are DMs that write whole campaign settings from scratch. Yes, those exist. But those have started somewhere too. They have probably started with their favorite TV show and realized, I can do all that world building they did on my own.
Yeah, and I can promise you that if you start to DM regularly, you will do that anyways. Mm-hmm. Start world building. So you are nevertheless the master of your own world. You know everything about it because you are the one who created it. But this takes a lot of time. And I think we will do a podcast episode about world building.
Yes, definitely.
Where we will get into that much more in detail. And I want to ask you the next question.
Let's go for it. Do it.
What types of decisions do you need to make for your campaign or before you start a campaign?
I would say you can make a lot. You don't have to make many if it's your first, or if you don't want to make many decisions at the beginning. But there are some you should do. The first decision you need to make, in my opinion, for a campaign setting is actually setting the rules of the game. It doesn't have to be the system you are playing in, but you need a general framework, which includes the rules you are playing with, the world you are playing in, and everything that is more or less crucial to the next step, which is the decision of getting players. Who do I invite, or how do I get my players in general? So you have to need to get a general like pitch, you could say, for your players ready, in my opinion. So to bait them in a little bit. Pitch. Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit like, okay, cool, I have this new campaign up. It's a horror campaign for yours. For yours. You have this horror campaign. It's gonna be cold. We are high in the north. It's dark. Monsters. Do you want to join? For that, you need to first think about, okay, I want this campaign to be a little bit horror or mystery themed. I wanted to play in Icewind Dale. Those are the things you need to do first before actually inviting players.
Yeah.
You can obviously invite players first and then decide on setting with them. That's also totally valid, but I like to do first get my campaign idea ready, and then if I have a player group at the ready, for example, because I have so many campaign ideas, let them decide which idea they actually want to do of those ideas I have. But if you only have one idea, let's stick with that, then
work it to a point where you can pitch it to players.
Pitch it to people, and those that are actually interested, take those as your players. Because we will get into this. For a campaign, in my opinion, you need good players. And I'm not meaning some players are bad or others are better than others. That is not what I mean. But you need
people
good
who
players.
are invested.
Yeah, we will talk about that later on, so people actually stick around for that. Because that's a fucking hard take right there. So, you have decided on the rule system, the world, you have your players ready. Right? The next thing you should do with your players is... Now, this is a discussion with players. What are scheduling times? Do you have a weekly schedule, a bi-weekly schedule? What are the times you actually play at? Make that. Because I can tell you, from experience, the worst thing for a campaign to happen is if it goes on an 8-month hiatus. And I mean that. We had, because I had to cancel one session and we only planned like, okay, this session is done. Then I wrote the next adventure and then asked people when we want to play. This way we had mostly 2 to 3 months gap between each session. Okay, granted those sessions were over 12 hours long, but still there's a big time frame that the players actually don't think about the campaign at all. So, and I cancelled 1 or 2 sessions because I wasn't feeling well on one of the days, so we had to cancel the next one, and boom, we had 8 months of not playing that campaign. It didn't destroy the campaign, but it really threw a wrench in there because I had to get my players back on track because they obviously all forgot.
Yeah.
As every normal human being would after 8 months of hiatus. That's nearly a pregnancy. We need to think about that. No, so you should get, when you want to start a campaign, a general schedule, really. This is a mistake I made. I'm never gonna do it again. I will only play campaigns that have a semi-schedule. A semi-schedule is for me at least somewhat having agreed on we will play at least once a month. That could be we play 1 week and the next week instantly again, but then we won't play for 1.5 months again. Agree on some sort of consistency with your players to play it. Obviously including everyone's schedules. Some people have work, school, kids to take care of. There's a lot of stuff going into this, so make this decision very, very carefully so everyone at the table feels good with it.
Exactly.
And changing that schedule isn't a bad thing. You can do that if everyone agrees to it.
Yeah.
Next decision, in my opinion, is also a scheduling one. How long is the campaign gonna be? Obviously, this you don't know how many sessions exactly, but you can set a time frame of, okay, I will have around 10 sessions, 100 sessions.
What I like to use is getting into a level disparity. For example, we start at level 1, and it will be around the length it takes you to get to level 12 or 13 or whatever level cap you set your players.
Yeah, that's a good one.
So you don't have to have a real time limit, but no matter how often you play, when they reach the point in that story where you would reach that specific level you set, or for example the big bad evil guy fight, and maybe 1 or 2 sessions after that to just tie up all loose ends and connect the dots and stuff like that. But having this connected to the game, how long in game it will take. Because if you say we have 2 years and some sessions just fall out, then the story isn't finished, and then you have maybe to get another year to that if you don't play that often. But having it tied to the level progression is the way to go for me and my groups in general.
Obviously, granted that this system actually has a level progression.
Yeah, exactly.
But any kind of TTRPG that is laid out for campaigns will have some sort of progression, at least in some sense. And if not, you can always take time. Like, okay, we want to play 20 sessions, around 20 sessions. If you, after 20 sessions, are not finished because their players did one session only shenanigans and were drunk in a tavern, just add 2 sessions to that. It's not a big deal. But you should, at some way, get a time frame, at least for yourself. You don't even have to tell that your players, but get one for yourself so you can actually start with the pacing of your story.
Yeah.
Because the next thing you actually, I would always do before the campaign actually starts, or at the very beginning of it starting, is setting on a bad guy. And I'm not saying writing up stats and lore for that bad guy, but having a general idea of who actually is the bad guy of that campaign.
Yes.
That is very important, because that can be a driving force of how the campaign goes. Like for example, with the scheduling, make yourself tools with that you can schedule the players to do something. Having a villain in the campaign already in your mind. They don't even have to have stats. They don't even have to have a face. Just having the idea of, okay, I have this person that will do this, that will in turn result in the players noticing X and doing Y. So you have some sort of a tool that you can use to get your players to do what you want without taking away their decision what they actually want to do. You give them something like, okay, you realize there are troop movements from the enemy kingdom to the border of your kingdom. What do? That still leaves options on the table that, like, okay, let's go talk to the king. Let's go start a war. Let's go on a spy mission to find out why they are there and all that stuff. But you still have the plot of, hey, this kingdom is moving troops there. That plot was set by you, by your BBEG, which could be the king, the tyrant of the other country. So having a general bad guy you can use to pace the game, so you actually get your time frame to control how the game flows, is very important to me, which is why I always, in some sense, get an idea of what the driving force should be.
Yeah.
Then obviously
it just helps pushing it along.
Yeah.
You don't need to know everything about every little detail about your campaign.
No.
But you should have some general idea how it should be going or where it should be heading.
Yes.
At least.
Yes. Obviously. Also give your players tools to do the same, in my opinion, is good. So talking with your players beforehand, before it even getting ideas in that your players can use in game. For example, if we take this kingdom example I just gave. Your players are high operatives in a kingdom from a queen. Make that queen like you made with the villain. have this queen somewhat ready, so your players have a driving force on their side as well.
Yeah.
Not only an NPC, but maybe a tool they can use. Like, if those high operatives come to the queen with an audience saying, we need to mobilize forces because this enemy kingdom is moving troops, that is still the players using the tool of the queen that actually can authorize the troop movements to actually get what they want. So you also have a tool for your players to pace the game how they want. And now you have two sticks in an airplane. One only you can use, one the players can use, but also you can use. So now you can give them control over that stick, and you can both parties can somewhat control how the campaign goes. And in my opinion, when those things are all ready, you can actually start the campaign.
The actual playing of the campaign.
Yeah, you have the scheduling done, you have your players, you have the pitch, you have all the general ideas now in your head. Like, you have a driving force the players can use, you have a driving force that you can use. Boom, you can create conflict with those two driving forces. Boom, you can create hooks and all that. So, what comes after making all those decisions? What does come after that, Niels?
Like the actual first play session. The classic example would be
session
you meet
0,
in the
right?
tavern. I think session 0 is into that planning stuff because
obviously, but
in session 0 you make all the plannings for scheduling and tone and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly, but I think you do them more in depth because you need to schedule the session 0, obviously, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like what I mean is with these preparations, those decisions, those are really just theoretical. You have not told your players about this because the players don't have characters, for example. They need to create those first. So what I wanted to say is, now comes session 0. We have made an episode on that already. Yeah. So people should just stop this now. Okay, you're back. You have listened to the session 0 episode, and now after the session 0, now we come to you. The player characters are ready. You have done the session 0. Your players have know the world. Now know a lot of stuff already, and all that. They have expectations. How do you actually start a session 1?
First, I usually give them some sort of, or I set some sort of scene. The classic one would be, you meet all in a tavern. Mm-hmm. What do you do? I then describe how the tavern looks, how it feels, what sounds there are in, how many people are there. Just describing and setting the scene for my players and giving them tools with the scene to actually start getting into the storyline through maybe throwing some rumors in there as well during the exposition. Mm-hmm. And just to get right into role-playing and even rolling dice sometimes in the first 5 minutes of actual play.
Okay, yeah.
But don't think you always have to use the you start in a tavern move. I heard about some people who started their campaign on a slave ship where all the characters were bound slaves or captives. And there are many different ways to start a campaign depending on how what your tone is you agreed upon during session 0, or what type of campaign do you want to play, which you made up your mind during the pre-planning steps.
Like all these, you start in a tavern. You are all held in a prison cell. You are all lined up for execution or whatever. Those all are for one thing only: creating a party dynamic already, because it's a DM's bane if the players don't work together. Every player that is listening to this, please, it is okay if your character would be a lone wolf and not work together with the group at first or have secrets from the group. But please don't be that person that just doesn't want to work with the group. Please don't. Because the DM has done his best or their best already in giving you this exposition. Okay, you all start at the same point. You all get the same problem. Please fix it together.
Yeah. That's actually one of the hardest points for me is to find a reason why they should work together. But I think now we come back to a point you mentioned before. You need good players.
Yeah,
because if you have good players, they all think, even if my character right now wouldn't do that, just to get into the game already, fuck it, let's do it, and work together with strangers just to get the shit going and start the party dynamic.
Obviously, what
and
I don't
there
want,
on the
what I don't want from people is to think that you have to, as for example, if two of the player characters already hate each other because of backstory reasons or agreed reasons like this, like both players and the DM agree that this would be cool and should be done, and you don't want to work together with them, that's totally fine. Don't think of this as you need to always do as the DM wants you to do, because that's not the case.
Oh,
but
that wasn't what I was
no. But I wanted to chat that still. Obviously, I think, like you said, the first session of a campaign, the starting can be a little bit hit or miss. The DM throwing something and it either catches on or doesn't. And it's your job as a player for me to somewhat pick up on it. Obviously, if the hook completely failed, you still can make your own adventure out of it. Just the DM does his or their best, and please honor that and not say, no, fuck it, I don't want to. What do you do now? This is just challenging your DM. This is just this. With that,
disrupting your game.
Yeah, you're disrupting the game and imposing a behavior of DM versus player. Which is something that I don't want. I don't want you to think we are fighting against each other. You don't need to challenge me, because I challenge you, but I only challenge my players so they can feel heroic afterwards.
Yeah, if I want to crush you, I will just put the fucking Tarrasque at level 1 on the table and say, yeah, rocks fall, everybody dies, get on with it.
But how is that fun in the game? Like, again, somewhat pick up on the bone the DM throws at you, and if your DM is good, this comes natural, obviously. There are very good expositions, like the slave ship, working together to get out. This is like, if the DM sets the premise right of, hey, you all get executed tomorrow, you don't want to get killed, right? The only way you can get out is by working together. So do it. Don't say, I don't want to. I want to get executed. Nobody. No, you don't. No. Don't do that shit.
Yeah. And as a DM, basically, you throw everything at the fucking wall and see what sticks. And as a player, you try to catch, or you should try to catch as much as possible regarding your backstory or your type of character you want to play. But you should at least try to catch something. Even if it doesn't stick on the wall, pick it up from the fucking ground. Just do something.
Something along those lines.
I won't do anything. Yeah, that's not just very helpful.
Like, I, as a DM, can tell everyone out there, if you engage on your own as a player, the DM will want to marry you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's a dream for every DM if they have a player that actually engages on their own, on a hook. Like this, you meet in a tavern, and suddenly someone barges in. I need help. We are being attacked by bandits. Having a player that instantly jumps up and says, okay, everyone, we need to fight those bandits, and basically rallies all the troops in the tavern. That is a dream. And if, like, okay, if you are that...
Or something more subtle, like you hear some whispers, some rumors, and you go out of your way to investigate on those. Yes, please.
Obviously.
Give me more of that.
For example, if their paladin rallies the troops in the tavern, you can still be that chaotic neutral rogue that sits there. I want to get paid, because that is your character, okay.
Yeah.
But then don't be the player that says, nope, I won't do it for anything less than 10 gold pieces. That's just shitty behavior, because maybe the town can't even pay that much. And as a DM, I would hate to bend the game so you can feel accomplished in, haha, I've beat the first challenge, which is having the DM have any interest in my character again. Like, you can be that character that wants money or wants anything in return for doing it because your work isn't cheap. That is totally fine. That is your character. But your character doesn't have to be the dick.
Yes.
Like, the character concept can be, I am the dick at the table. But he doesn't have to be to the DM.
Yeah. Your character could be the dick at the table, but please, player, don't be the dick at the table.
Yes, please. This is a clear distinction you have to make.
Distinction between character and player.
Players should not be dicks in any way. Characters can be, in a controlled manner, obviously.
Yes.
That's... hopefully everyone knows that without a doubt. So, now you've done your first session. You have killed the bandits. You have brought home the lost treasure of something from pirates that buried it. You have escaped the prison cell and are free and on the streets. How do you... Now comes the important part of the campaign, because that just right there was a one-shot. The first session can be a one-shot, because it has no start. It has a starting point. But the second session after that doesn't really have a starting point anymore. It has a flowing way of starting, you could say. Like, it's not a hard start. It's not
the
like...
starting point of the second session is the end of the first.
Genau. Yes, nicht genau.
Yeah.
German again.
German.
So, I want to ask you, how do you branch out after a first session has been done?
I usually do it a bit on the fly, actually. Like, when I saw how my players interacted with the world I create with them, it depends on how hard I throw the shit at the wall to see what sticks. If I see they are engaging on their own, I just leave a little rumor here, just a little note on there, or a little marking on a rock in the bandit camp. Or the bandit captain had some sort of sealed letter, which now has writing on it if you open it, and some minor details. But if they don't engage that much, I will just use an envoy or some of some kind to say, hey, you did good work, we want to hire you, please do this, we will pay you.
Yeah. So branching out is important after your first session. You need to somehow make way for an epic story to take place, which is like, I normally do the first session should be a done and dusted case after the first session, so players feel accomplished after the first session. After the second one, they could have gotten any progress. For example, if my player character started level 7 and they kill they kill an incoming orc raid with an orc captain, and they get a lot of loot out of this, and they get a lot of treasure, and they get, like, everyone gets 500 gold pieces. Then the next session could be just them shopping.
Yep.
After the first session, I always want players to feel accomplished in some way. Having bested a challenge, feeling good about yourself, but also having something to go forward with. Like you said, information is good. A fleeing enemy you need to chase. If you kill
chase scenes,
if you kill bandits and the captain actually escapes into the woods, following them could be the next session. If you need to return something to its rightful owner because it was stolen by thugs or thieves, that is also important. That's also information, like getting to know where that person is. And so in your first session, what you should do is my opinion, make the players feel accomplished and give them something they can work with in the second session. Like you said, information, but it can also be an item, it can be a lead, it can be a person, it can be anything actually.
Something they can go on from
in
the next session.
And if your players don't, let me tell you, that is totally fine. It's totally fine if you've planted some evidence your players get at the end of the session, which incriminates a politician in the city. And they say, no, we don't want to talk to the politician just yet. But you planned, okay, they're going to talk to the politician, or what will they do? And they don't. That's okay. They have that information. And if they don't decide to use it, you have two options, in my opinion. Either abandon it until they actually want to do it. So put it on the back burner, write it somewhere, and let it be for the time being. Or somehow indulge in it more. Give them another hint to that actual topic. Maybe they didn't really believe the evidence or didn't understand it. Yeah. Giving them a second one is also good. So it depends on where you want to go. And this is why after the first session, which can be a done and dusted case of killing bandits, thieves, orcs, or whatever, or not even killing something, but finding someone or whatever, after that you should have somewhat of a story prepared. It doesn't have to be, like we talked in the story arcs episode, the whole campaign. It's totally fine to have the story for the next 5 or 6 sessions ready, which is just a little one chapter in your big story arc. That is totally fine, having that ready, because if you can somehow move along that line, all will be fine. So keep in mind that you have a story, you need to return to it in some way, but if your players want to visit the festival in the next city they know about, let them do that. It is definitely fun, and maybe your players do that with a cause. They want to investigate there because all the information they got in this town was the same. And they want to look if this information is correct. You need to in a campaign you need to definitely react to players.
Definitely.
You need to react in some way. If their actions decide how the story goes, obviously you can still very much railroad them in some direction. But in my opinion, you can't railroad them 100%, but you can also not 100% make a sandbox game. Because the one thing would be writing a book, the other thing would be a GM-less game.
Exactly.
Which you are not playing right now.
Yeah, but then you wouldn't be playing any tabletop RPG.
There are tabletop RPGs which are GM-less, obviously, but it wouldn't really be...
It's not the norm.
That's okay. Yeah. No.
What I like to have when I start a campaign is have a guideline for it, which you can work your way around it, like a snake slithering around it, but always somehow coming back to it at some point. You don't have to follow the guideline in a straight line, obviously, but branching a little bit here and a little bit there, but still arcing back to it at some point in some sort of way makes the story come to life.
Yes.
And even if they don't come back to the guideline, you can alter the guideline a bit by having the players feel the consequences of their actions. If you give them one hint after another, and even hard evidence, and they just don't act on it, have the players feel the consequences of not acting.
Yes.
For example, if they received many evidence of some sort of death threat to a person, and they don't act on it for in-game time of, I don't know, maybe a month, have that character really be killed. And now you have to rewrite a bit of your story, obviously, but that just gives the players the feel for the need to act on different hints and evidence you give them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. And this is partially why I said good players, because players should pick up on the hints you give them. Players should definitely try to be, like, I don't mean with good players that are actually better at the game than others, because in my opinion that really isn't the case for anyone. No one is better than the other. Their playstyle is different. They are not the same. You can't really judge them of that. You can't give a player a grade on how good they actually are at playing, because this game is played how you want to play it, as a player and as a DM and as a group and all that. But having a good player, in my opinion, means for a campaign having a player that is invested in the game, in the story, in the world, and in the other characters also. That is interested in actually playing this game. And really that game that you actually play at the table. Not the TTRPG in general. If you are playing D&D and you have a player that is only interested in playing D&D, but not your actual campaign or your actual world, that is still useless. You need a player that actually wants to play your game. Because those will investigate those points. Those will remember. Those will take notes. Those are the players you want. And this is why I said, choose your players carefully. Or if you, like me, only play with your IRL friends, you know them. You know what makes them tick. You know how they work.
You know what kind of storylines they like.
Exactly.
Something like that. So if you have your story planned somewhat, you know how who to ask.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, I'm planning this. Are you interested in it? And because you know them so good, you know nearly know every time. Yeah, sure, I'm into that.
This is why in the Witcher campaign I only selected players that actually have played the Witcher game or know about the Witcher know about the Witcher video game and books. You don't have to you have played the game. The other players have played or watched the game, watched the TV series, all that stuff. They know the universe. They know what I expect of them for this. So they are good players for that campaign because they know what I expect. I know what they expect. We have a common ground. That is what you need. My players are invested in the campaign and in the story and in the world, which means I can tell stories that actually interest them in that world and campaign. Now, there's also another big...
I can tell you, you're doing great for in that regard.
We are only 2 sessions in, so...
Yeah, but
we have still a way to go. So, there's another big importance. And that is the importance of good player characters. Now we're talking about the characters themselves, because there are different types of characters. And in this regard, I don't mean optimized characters. You can play a very unoptimized character. You can play a wizard with an intelligence of 11 in my campaigns. I don't have a problem with that. That is okay. That is fine by me. Stats are not something I'm actually talking about. I'm talking about player characters that are interesting, rich in story, that fit in the world, that don't feel out of place. Player characters where you know the player actually did their work in making the character interesting for you, the other players at the table, and themselves.
As for the D&D character sheet, that little thing on the top right corner with your personality traits, bonds, ideals, flaws, if you work that out to that degree where you can tell your DM, yeah, I'm that type of person or that type of character, and with that sort of backstory, which he then can tie into your story and give you specific story hooks for your character. That's a big thing. Or he can make encounters. For example, I had played one character once, an orc wizard who was afraid of the outside. Because he was locked in the tower and blah, 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 backstory reasons. But he was in big open spaces, he was really anxious, nervous, and even frightened sometimes. But then the DM can work that into encounters where you can overcome your boundaries.
Your fears,
and you can become a better version of yourself in that regard. So you can feel that heroicness. For other player characters, that may be not a big deal, but for your character, it is, which makes you feel heroic, good, and just have a degree or a level of accomplishment.
Yes.
Which is very important.
Exactly this. Have a character that has the room to grow, in my opinion. An interesting backstory your DM can actually use. Like we talked about this in the backstory episode. Having usable backstories is the most important thing here. You can have a very cool story, but if the DM can't use it, it's useless for him and they don't need it.
Yeah, because you can use the usable backstory to actually start a campaign. You can use plot hooks after the first campaign one-shot, so you could say. Use plot hooks designed for a specific character and throw them at them to get the campaign going and tie that back to the guideline you had in your head.
For example, your backstory is you are actually the prince of the kingdom the campaign is set in, but you've disappeared because you didn't want to be king one day and wanted a life of adventure. That is an interesting character concept right there. You can also build in, obviously, the normal amount of trauma everyone needs in their player characters, as it seems. This is a joke, by the way. You don't need trauma in your player characters. But you can have trauma in your player characters, but you have this prince that doesn't want to be prince. That is an interesting story hook, because you can actually instantly start, okay, they have escaped like 1 week ago. And the players finally hear rumors in like the third or second session where you hear, hey, the prince is missing. Which is an interesting story plot for characters to investigate, especially if one of them is actually the person that is
the missing prince.
This is very interesting, because the prince doesn't want to get found. So the other players investigating that would be something they don't want. So the prince, or the princess for that matter, would need to sabotage the group, which creates a very interesting group dynamic. And this is good. This is a good player character for the campaign. I am no enemy of the I have lost my memory backstory, because it gives me, the DM, full reign of yourself. If you ever write that to me, I have lost my memory, I can tell you, you will still have a backstory. You just don't know it, and you have to accept everything I throw your way, because it is your backstory now. You didn't want to do that. That is still a good player character, in my opinion. Good player character, in my opinion, is a character that the DM can use, that you as a player can and want to play, the other player characters want to interact with, or the other players want to interact with, and that fits into the world in some degree. That is a good player character for a campaign. All these fun characters, like I am playing this goblin barbarian that only fights for cheese. That is a fun concept. I don't deny that. But I would hate for that to be one of the campaign characters that may stick around for a year or 2 or even 5. Because there is nothing behind that. Obviously, you can still write up a goblin barbarian that has an unhealthy addiction to cheese, but then you still need some sort of different story. Like they were exiled from their clan.
Because they like cheese so much.
Because they like cheese so much. That is
they stole
okay.
every cheese from the pantry.
Yes, that's totally fine again. But you need to put some thought into this, making the character a campaign character, because there's a big difference between campaign and one-shot characters. Mainly in character drive, backstory, and reason you are playing it.
Yeah, because for a one-shot, as we said, for a one-shot you can do whatever you like. Mm-hmm. But for a campaign you need to have some sort of thing the DM can use to tie it to the start of a new story arc or the whole campaign itself.
Yes. So, after that is all done, you have players have their characters. They are good characters. The players are perfect. You have started. You as the DM have started your campaign. Cool. You have your first session done. You have your first story hooks. The campaign is going great into several sessions. This is the topic of the episode.
Exactly.
We are done. Because we have talked about everything. Planning before the campaign. The session 0, we have done a different session on that. A different episode on that. We have talked about the first actual session you play in a campaign, what comes after that, and what it means for player characters and players to actually be good for a campaign you want to play as the DM.
And for DMs, what you need to keep in mind during all that.
So, for one advice for all players, like we just said, make interesting characters and be interested in the campaign the DM puts in front of you. They have worked a lot on that.
Together.
Yes, work together. For the DM, obviously, work together. But in my opinion, there's one big thing, and that is be interested in everything your players do.
Yeah. Because you can't really think that you are the only one who deserves to be invested in. You have to give the same sort of investment to the players you are playing, because you all are or should be invested in the story you are crafting together.
Mm-hmm. So another advice I want to give is take it easy for the first campaign, like we talked. You don't have to make an elaborate campaign setting. You don't have to make the plot of the century. Make it simple. Make something you are comfortable with in the level of prep you need to do for it. Take it so you feel comfortable with what you created, because at the end, it's your project. You made this. Be freaking proud of it. Please be proud of your work, because you deserve to be proud of everything you do. And if you are not proud of your work, I will find you. And I will make you proud of your own work. Understand me?
I do.
Good. Perfect. So, I think this brings the episode to a close.
I think so too.
We have social media accounts.
Yeah, several actually. We got the Twitter account at DoubleDM pod. Mm-hmm. Then we have our Instagram account, which is a little bit bare at the moment. Also at DoubleDM pod. Then you have your Twitter account.
My Twitter account.
Master Overspace.
At Master Overspace, or just search for Dungeon Mastermind.
Mm-hmm. Then, of course, you can follow us on Anchor, Spotify, and everywhere else you get your podcast. Apple Podcasts, I think.
Yes.
And
as well.
Yeah. You can reach out to us through Twitter, DMs, or tweet at us, or comment on their posts on Instagram, or direct messages. Everything like that. Feel free to interact with us.
Yes. Next week will be our episode on death, which was actually decided by our Twitter followers. So if you aren't already, please follow us on Twitter so you can participate in the next actual poll we do on what topic we will do. The topic will be player character death. And for that we will have 2 very special guests with us, 2 DMs that will talk to us about how they handle dev and then discussing how you can handle dev, what it means for a campaign or one shot and all that. Very important stuff, very funny stuff. I'm actually very excited for that. So the only thing I can actually still say, if you also want to participate in an episode later on, either reach out on Twitter or more conveniently get into our Discord server.
Yeah, we have that now, right?
Yes, we have a Discord server. We're actually recording in that server. And if you want to, there is a guest sign up channel in that you can write, hey, I want to be a guest. We will then make a note of you. You can then still say what you are interested in, what you do, so we can better get an idea of where we can use you in an episode. And if you're in the server, we will probably get to you and talk to you, because we want to talk to a lot of people, because everyone deserves an opinion and sharing that with the world and talking it out with people. So yeah, join our Discord, talk to us.
You can find the Discord on our Linktree.
Yes.
The invite link is on our Linktree, yeah.
And if you ask me on Twitter, because you can't click on the Linktree thing, I will send you another invite. No problem. I have one last thing. The Beige Gang, again, is on the 17th of April, which is at 9 p.m. CET or 3 p.m. EST on www.twitch.tv/DM_Chronicles, I think, where the one shot will be held. We will make a big post about it on Twitter and Instagram. Yeah, and I will see you guys. We will hear you. You guys will hear us in the next episode.
Exactly.
That was hard.
So, yeah, I have that sometimes as well. Talking, grammar, words, difficult. So, hear you guys on the next one, and have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye bye.